We have Jim Neff at the guest microphone today. Hi, Jim. How are you?
Great, Rich. How are you?
Great. Jim, the history of Cadillac and the history of the legendary rock band Kiss are intertwined in a way that is history-making. And you have been documenting this for years. So, but the magic date was 44 years ago. And some of the people who have intimate firsthand knowledge of that event in Cadillac are getting older. So this is the reason why we had you in. You are in the process of collecting stories, firsthand witness accounts of that that period back in the mid-'70s. Am I right?
You're absolutely correct. And, there used to be a program on TV called The Naked City, and it was like 1,000 stories. And over the past couple of years, I've noticed that a lot of people have come up to me and told me personalized experiences that they remember from that time when Kiss was here. And not only that, in the end of the road tour that Kiss is doing now, they do a song called Do You Love Me? And when they were in Grand Rapids, they had a big video screen behind the stage. And when they played that song, they had a dozen pictures of Cadillac. So it's still very much uppermost in the minds of the band. And the interesting thing about Kiss is that the crowd is not only people who may have been in Cadillac in 1975, but now the crowd is their children, their grandchildren. So the story continues for 44 years. It may be even more popular now than it ever was. So this is a perfect time to collect all those personal stories. You know what I've said is that everyone has told the story about Cadillac and Kiss except these people here in Cadillac. And now's a great time to collect all that information.
So if someone is out there, they have a personal story, they have an anecdote, they have something that happened personally to them, how are you collecting all of this information?
Well, I've got something going called the Cadillac KISStory Project. And you can access that on the web at neffcadillackiss.com. I also have a post office box 465 in Cadillac, Michigan. You can mail things to me if you want to. And also on Instagram at Neff Cadillac Kiss. And what I've tried to do is give everybody a means to do this, to involve themselves in the Cadillac KISStory Project. We can collect all these stories, and I want to tell the story, not only the story that I've been telling for 44 years, but all these anecdotes that people have accumulated and come up to me in the street and tell me this. There's an interesting thing that happens to me. People come up and say, "You're the guy." And I'll say, "What do you mean I'm the guy?" And they'll say, "You're the guy that brought Kiss to Cadillac." Well, I remember when. And there's another very, very interesting aspect to this. There are all kinds of people who weren't at the event that have stories about why they weren't at the event or why they would like to have been at the event. And those are every bit as valuable as the ones from the people who were there. So
there are multiple ways to get a hold of you to relate your information.
Correct. And, we've got, as I said, the post office box set up. You can go CadillacKISStory@gmail.com. But the very best way is to just go on my website at neffcadillackiss.com, and all the information is there. And what I'm hoping for is for people all over the Kiss universe to chip in with stories. And I might tell you this. I've already made contact with very interesting people. We've had people from Cadillac tell me about why they couldn't come. My own wife couldn't attend the concert because we had little kids at home, and all the babysitters were at the show. I've also gotten contacts from the man who was the original sound man for that concert. And the guy who ran the special effects for that concert sent me a never-before-seen picture. And, I also want people to go in and look at their photo albums. I don't care what the quality of photo is. You would be surprised at how many of these great personal photos that they took back then with their Brownie Instamatic cameras that are just highly in demand by Kiss fans all over the world.
Well, not only that, but nowadays, with the technology being the way it is, you can restore some of those old photos to look really wonderful.
Mary Marine, who worked at Kenwood School for years and years and years, I recently got a picture that she took. Her son Rick sent me it, and or son Brad, excuse me, sent it to me. And it's a never-before-seen picture of Kiss in concert on the stage at Cadillac High. Maybe the best concert shot I've seen. And I've seen a lot in 44 years. So it's that type of thing. She just found it in a photo album, and there it was. That's the type of thing that I hope people will submit.
So when you collect all these stories and all these photographs and all this memorabilia from this great event in the history of Cadillac, what do you plan to do with it?
Well, there's a number of different ways you can go about it. One way is to publish it all on the web, and that might be a way to go. People are encouraging me to write a book, and that's a way to go. But as you mentioned before about the technology, I'm going to reserve judgment on that a little bit until we get everything collected, because there may be a technology out there that has yet to be invented that we don't know.
It's true.
6 months from now, it might be even better than a book. But if we did come up with enough material and we could produce a book, one thing that I would want people to understand is the first profits from anything we do, if we make any money off this at all, is going to go to finish off the KISS monument project. And there's a lot of things we can do with landscaping and to make that site a little more presentable. So, this is a thing that people are coming from all over the world to see. And it would be nice to generate a little money off this maybe and finish that off.
What do you ideally want to do to that? What would you need to do to that monument or to that area to say, okay, this is complete?
Well, there's been a number of suggestions, but one of them is, the obvious one is to put some cement all the way around. Some people have said maybe a bench. Jim Anderson from the class of 77 came up with a great idea. He said, if you could get a vintage lamp post, the same one like they did in downtown Cadillac where they made KISS Boulevard, he said it would be really cool to put a lamp post there with KISS Boulevard on it. So those are the types of things that I think would really dress up the spot.
So one more time, Jim, I almost feel like for those who aren't aware that you should almost give the backstory here. I think you should.
Sure.
Give the whole backstory if you would.
Okay, really, the fast way I do it when I go on the KISS tour.
The thumbnail sketch, I guess.
In 1973, Cadillac High School had a football team that went 9-0. Now, this was before the playoffs were instituted in the state of Michigan, and it was a really good team. And in 1974, we had what we thought was a really good team. Coach Brines was the head coach. I was the assistant. And we lost our first 2 ball games. And our thought was that the kids were just not having fun. They were very tight. They were trying to live up to that 9-0 1973 team. And we felt if they could just play up to their capabilities, we'd have a heck of a team. So I suggested, let's play rock and roll in the locker room. And Coach Brines said, well, you're the rock and roll expert, so you pick the music. And I had seen KISS. And I said, I think I have the perfect band. They're just up and coming. They're wild. They're crazy. They put on a tremendous stage show. And KISS stands for Keep It Simple, Stupid in football. So let's play that in the locker room and tell the kids just to have fun. And the long and short of it is we won our last 7 games. We finished 7-2. And during the course of those 7 games, I sent a letter to KISS management, which at that time was Bill Aucoin's Rock Steady in New York. The address was on the back of one of the albums that KISS did in the early days. And I was sitting in my lazy boy chair, and Gene and Paul called from backstage and said, from somewhere, and said, we heard about what you're doing, and please keep us apprised. And so from that point on, we had a relationship, and I would send them the scores every week, and they would high-five in the backstage, and it was a great thing. The next year, we found out that they were going to be in Kalamazoo. That would be 1975, playing at Western Michigan University, and that they'd have 2 or 3 days before their next show, which was in Ohio. And so the manager and I and their publicity person, Carol Ross, said, I said, it's our homecoming. Would KISS maybe come up and sign a few autographs? And they said, well, the management said, well, maybe they would. And I said, my brother has a rock and roll band. What if I brought his band up and you could use their equipment and do a song or two at the pep assembly? And at that point, their road manager, Alan Miller, said, why don't we bring the whole show there? And so that's the kind of the backstory. They did their entire concert in the gym. It was phenomenal. And, 2,000 people were there. 10,000 claimed they were there.
Yeah.
And millions all over the world wish they were there. Somebody once asked me, will you ever duplicate that concert in the gym? And I said, everyone in the world wants to be there. I said, they played London and Tokyo and New York City and LA and all over the world. But the one place everyone wants to be, wish they had been, is Cadillac, Michigan. And I said, if I'm KISS and I'm Jim Neff and I have, in a perfect world, what I would do KISS in the Cadillac gym worldwide pay-per-view.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So there's the story right there. That is how Cadillac and KISS have been intertwined since now, 46 years now, 45 years. It's going to be the 45th anniversary of the appearance in Cadillac is next year.
Right.
And those who have personal stories are getting older. So it seems like now is the time to collect all that information, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's very interesting. We have that KISS monument. Mm-hmm. And just last week, I was walking past the KISS monument, and I see two people taking pictures in front of the KISS monument. And they're both mid-20s. They've been on the KISS cruise. They've seen the End of the Road tour twice. But I went up and I introduced myself and took pictures with them. And they said, all the KISS experiences there are out there. These are young fans, 25 years old or so. Of all the KISS experiences out there, this was the one on our list that we wanted to do. And they were from out of town, and here they were in Cadillac, Michigan, KISS Tourism, alive and well. And so the story just keeps rolling along and getting bigger and bigger.
It does. And, rock and roll is, it doesn't matter the age. It appeals to everyone. It appeals to young. It appeals to old. And the legend of KISS is going to continue to live on forever with the younger generations. And this helps it along.
I think so, and the people of Cadillac have embraced the story, and people come from all over the world to just stand. It's funny to watch them stand in the gym or stand in front of that monument. And I tell people that there are very few places on earth, maybe the Surf Ballroom where Buddy Holly last played over in Wisconsin is one of them, but there's very few places in the world where people turn to you and say, I can feel rock and roll. And they do that here in Cadillac, Michigan. So one more time, how do folks get a hold of you with the stories that you're trying to get collected into one spot here? The best way for folks to reach you, Jim? The number one way is to go to the Cadillac KISStory Project, which is at my website at neffcadillackiss.com. They can also email me at cadillackisstory@gmail.com. They can mail things to me at Cadillac KISStory, Post Office Box 465, Cadillac, Michigan 49601. And they can follow us on Instagram at Neff Cadillac Kiss at Instagram. And by the way, on Instagram, I'm posting a special insider fact a couple of times a week. So it's kind of fun to watch and follow along. The man who's been documenting this for 44 years continues to do that, Jim Neff, Cadillac KISStory Project. We wish you luck, and we invite everyone to relate your stories to Jim. Thank you, Jim, for coming in. Thank you, Rich. It's been my pleasure.